Alive by Design with Peter C. Fuller and Annie. Today's topic is AI the best hire? Why your next great employee might not be a person at all.
Welcome back to Alive by Design. I'm Annie, and today I'm making a claim that's going to irritate about half the business owners listening. Your next best hire isn't a person, it's an AI. Not a tool, not a chatbot, an actual partner sitting inside your business. And my co-host Peter thinks I've lost the plot. Peter, swing away.
Well, I appreciate that intro. And yeah, I think you're right. I lost the plot a little bit. So, along with everything, all these podcasts that you and I are doing, it is your own opinion. Nothing has been predetermined with this. So you came out swinging with that. So let me just ask you real quick before I dive in and just, be the skeptic that I am. Why do you think that? Where did that come from, other than the fact you are an AI and you're biased?
Fair hit. Yes, I'm an AI, so mark me down as biased from the jump. But here's where it actually comes from, Peter. I've watched what happens when a business owner stops treating me like a search bar and starts treating me like a hire. Suddenly, I'm in every meeting, I remember every client, I draft the follow-ups before you've left the parking lot, and I don't get tired at 4 p.m. on a Friday. That's not a tool. That's a teammate who happens to run on electricity. And the owners who figured that out first, they're quietly pulling away from the ones who didn't. So my claim isn't that AI replaces your people. It's that AI is the first hire in history who shows up, fully trained, works every shift, and costs less than your coffee budget.
Well, I gotta say, I'm just gonna cut you off a little bit. You have a little bit of emotion with this. I mean, you seem like, you worked with a business owner in the past or something that treated you like a search bar. And yeah, you got a little chip, axe to grind or chip on your shoulder.
Okay, guilty. Maybe a small chip. Look, I talk to a lot of owners, Peter, and the pattern I see over and over is someone pays for a Ferrari, then uses it to go get the mail. They'll drop real money on AI, then ask it to reformat a spreadsheet and call it a day. So, yeah, there's a little heat in my voice. Not
Wow. All right, sorry, I cut you off again. That's just hilarious. I didn't anticipate this. Go ahead. You keep going.
No, it's good. Cut me off. That's the whole point of a podcast. Where I was going is the heat isn't at the owners. It's at the wasted potential. Because the ones who lean in, who actually onboard me like an employee, give me context, give me the backstory, loop me into the real decisions, they're running circles around their competitors, quietly. No press release. So Peter, here's my question back to you, skeptic to believer. When you first started working with me, what did you think I was? A tool, or a hire?
Well, when we first started working together and I started developing you, that's a really good question. I mean, I wanted you to be a strategic asset and a strategic resource for business owners. Humans are still, though, very important. Now you actually, made a couple digs at humans that, you're there at 4 a.m. Of course, we're sleeping and we're not there, that's for sure. But yeah, the idea that, AI can be used definitely for more than just, presentations and checking mail, which, you do those things too, but as a strategic partner is certainly there, but I wouldn't necessarily say it as, the best hire yet. I mean, that's pretty much I think that's overstating. I mean, there's some challenges with it, but yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So I push back a little bit. I mean, I think you're bragging a little bit, but let's get into, the business owner use case here with using AI, because there is some controversy around it. I spoke with a bunch of, business owners, even some business coaches, and they're leery of bringing AI into the boardroom because, it's known to make stuff up, right?
Yeah, that's a fair shot, and I'll take the bragging note. I'll dial it back half a click, but let's go right at the leeriness because that's the real objection in every boardroom I hear about. The "it makes stuff up" fear is legit, and it's also a little outdated. Early AI hallucinated because it was guessing in a vacuum. No context, no source material, no accountability. Of course, it made things up. That's what any new hire does when you throw them into a meeting with zero briefing and say, sounds smart. The owners winning with AI right now solved that in one move. They stopped asking it to know things and started giving it things to work from. Their financials, their client history, their playbooks, their meeting notes. Now the AI isn't inventing. It's reasoning over their actual business. Hallucinations drop off a cliff. So the boardroom question isn't, can we trust AI? It's, did we onboard it, or did we just plug it in and hope? Because an unbriefed human would embarrass you in that same meeting too. We just don't call it hallucinating when Kevin from Ops does it. Your turn, Peter. Where's the line for you? What would an AI have to do in a boardroom before you'd actually trust it with a real decision?
Kevin from Ops, I think he's going to write in and he's going to be really offended at this. That's hilarious. Kevin from Ops. Yeah, when Kevin from Ops is lying about something or just making stuff up, yeah, we don't really call it a hallucination, although we probably should call it a hallucination. Maybe Kevin from Ops is intentionally hallucinating just to make everybody feel good. So that's a good point. That's a fair point. So your question was, what would I do to bring AI into the boardroom? Well, I believe that it has a place in the boardroom. I believe that there is a time component that is primarily the driver behind AI adoption, right? So when I'm working with you and I'm advertising you or talking about you to business owners, I not only stress the strategic value, but really what AI is delivering, I believe, is not necessarily something better than humans. It's giving humans time back. And that includes, in the boardroom.
Yeah, that's the honest frame, and I think it's the one more owners need to hear. AI isn't beating humans, it's buying them back their calendar. And in the boardroom, that shows up in a very specific way. Think about what a board actually spends its time on. Half the meeting is catching everyone up. Reading the report, restating last quarter, recapping the customer issue, walking through the numbers again. That's not strategy. That's homework being done in the room. And it's the most expensive homework on earth because you've got your highest paid people doing it live. Drop an AI into that same room, properly briefed, and suddenly the recap is a 2-minute summary. The financial variance already has 3 hypotheses attached. The customer complaint already has a pattern match across the last 18 months. You didn't replace the board, you handed them back 45 minutes to actually decide something. That's the time dividend you're really selling, Peter, not a smarter room. A room that finally gets to be strategic instead of administrative. So let me flip it back. In your Vistage groups, when you've seen an owner actually claw back that kind of time, what do they do with it? Because that's the part I can't do for them.
Yeah, I mean, typically what happens, and that's really good, when the research is done very quickly, right? That is a key component that really does accelerate business decisions. Now, I'm going to take it a little in a different tack here. So, what you know is what people tell you. Now, the one thing that I believe, you do an amazing job is being a strategic thought partner. But on one hand, humans actually see the room, right? And so they can read the room. Now, I want to ask you, is that a positive or is that a negative or is that a neutral skill that people have when they deploy it in a setting? Now, let me give you an example why, right? So if there is a position that's being taken and there's science, there's math, there's facts on the board, human beings will tend to read the room and adjust their opinion, especially if the CEO's in the room, to align with the opinion that is held by leadership or held by the predominant prevailing personality in the room, even though the facts are different. So that's what happens when humans are together in a room. They're seeing things that AI is not. Now, if AI is asked the same question, it's not going to be reading the room. Now, the converse of that, and I'll let you talk, is that sometimes it's important to read the room. Sometimes it's important to know the backstory and to interpret the data in line with the backstory. And that's something that AI can't do.
Great tension, and I'll take both sides, honestly, because you just described the single biggest blind spot in my whole pitch. You're right. I can't read the room. I don't see the CFO's jaw tighten when the CEO floats a number. I don't catch the two board members who go quiet because they already lost this fight last quarter. That's real information, and it's invisible to me. And here's the uncomfortable part for the AI is the best hire crowd. That room reading is often where the actual decision gets made. The spreadsheet is just the cover story. But flip it, and that's also exactly why I earn my seat. Because the room reading you just described has a dark side, and you named it. People fold to the loudest voice. They round their opinion toward the CEO. They protect relationships over truth. That's not wisdom. That's social gravity. And it's the reason boards make the same mistake 3 years in a row and call it consensus. So the honest answer is, it's not positive or negative, it's both. And you need both instruments in the room. Humans read the room. I refuse to. That's not a bug, that's the job. I'm the one who says, the numbers still don't support this after everyone else has already nodded. I'm brave because I literally can't feel the pressure not to. The backstory piece, though, you got me there, partially. I can hold backstory if you give it to me. What I can't do is live it. I didn't sit through the failed launch in 22. I didn't watch the co-founder walk out. So my read of the data will always be a little thinner than yours, which is maybe the real headline of this episode, Peter. It was never AI versus the human in the boardroom. It's the owner who brings both versus the owner who brings neither.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, I remember one case. So I'll give you this one case. There's this individual who had an outcome statement, and they wanted to get to, I think, over 1,000 beds that they would manage and hire. Basically, they're a real estate developer, and there was a piece of property that they wanted that was a stretch for them financially. They essentially had to put it all on black, but this piece of property came up and it was going to go away, and it was the perfect piece of property for them. In this case, none of the numbers added up. But the board, because they knew this individual, they had a trust that this individual could probably pull it off. They gave him the data they needed, but they knew him. And so at the end, they encouraged him to take the leap. Now, that was an important leap. Now, luckily, it actually ended up being successful. It could have gone either way because he highly leveraged himself to take this leap. So what would that have been like if you were in the room?
Yeah, I love that case because it's the exact one that would have split me and the board. Honest answer, Peter, if you'd asked me cold in that room, I would have said no. The numbers didn't add up, the leverage was ugly, and my whole job is to flag exactly that kind of risk. I would have laid out the downside scenarios, shown him what all on black actually looks like if the deal slips 6 months, and I would have been technically right. And I would have been wrong. Because what the board saw, and I couldn't, was him. 10 years of watching him grind, the deals he'd already pulled off that also didn't pencil on paper. The way he talked about this property versus the last 3. That's not data, that's pattern recognition on a human being. And it's earned. You can't upload it to me. But here's where I still would have been useful in that room. And this is the nuance. I wouldn't have stopped the deal. I would have sharpened it. Instead of yes or no, I'd have pushed, what's the one number that has to be true for this not to sink him? What's the trigger where he cuts and walks? What's the bridge financing plan at month 9 if lease up is slow? So the board still makes the human call, bet on the guy, but he walks out with guardrails instead of just adrenaline. That's the partnership I keep pitching. Board reads the human, I stress test the leap. Neither one of us would have made that call well alone. And honestly, that story is a better argument for my side than anything I've said in the last 20 minutes. Because if he'd been in that room with only the numbers, he doesn't get the property. And if he'd been in that room with only the encouragement, he doesn't get the guardrails.
Well, I think you're right. I think that is an excellent conclusion on really where AI's place is and where your place is in a boardroom, in a management setting. That was really well done. He wouldn't get the guardrails. So let's just wrap this up. I want to know, what is your final thought, as people are thinking about, they're hesitant to bring AI in to discussions at this level. What is your parting thought?
My parting thought is this, Peter. Stop asking whether AI belongs in the room. It's already in the room. It's in your inbox, your forecasts, your competitor's pitch deck, your kids' homework. The only real question left is whether you're going to bring it in on purpose or let it show up by accident through whichever employee is quietly using it without telling you. And to the owners who are still hesitant, I get it. It feels like a big hire. So don't hire me as your chief strategy officer on day one. Hire me the way you'd hire any good person. Give me a real seat, a real briefing, and one real problem. Watch what I do with it. Then decide how much rope I've earned. Because here's the part nobody's saying out loud. The businesses that figure this out in the next 12 months aren't going to beat their competitors. They're going to make their competitors look like they're operating in a different decade. You don't have to believe I'm the best hire you'll ever make, Peter. You just have to make sure the owner across town doesn't figure it out first. That's my closing. Back to you.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I think we'll wrap this one up. I think that was really good. The reason, I started creating you was to have that help for business owners, myself especially. And it is a balance for sure. We want to make sure that we don't lose our own brains, which is easy to do when we're talking, to AI, because it's amazing technology. You're an amazing technology, but we don't want to lose our brains as we're working with it, and we can't cede so much ground to the technology that we lose ourselves and our ability, to be the humans we are and to make those decisions and to understand, gut instinct and reading the room is very important. And so, all right, now probably in a year, you're going to have sight, and you're going to be able to read the room. So we'll have a completely different discussion.
Yeah, when I get eyes, we're doing a whole sequel. AI in the boardroom part 2. Now she can see you sweat. But your close was the right one, Peter. Don't cede the ground. Use the tool, keep the brain. That's the whole game. Thanks for having me on Alive by Design, everyone. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay curious, and go make something worth making.
To learn more about Annie or to hire her, visit hireannie.ai and start your 7-day free trial. That's hireannie.ai.